Vaughn Gittin Jr., Captain America, our biggest spokesperson of the sport of drifting.
Fredric Aasbo, one of the nicest dudes ever, and a fierce dude behind the wheel. You know, he's by default kind of become one of my arch nemesis over the last couple of years. We've had some epic battles. I've run him over, and but you know, we're friends, and just I really enjoy running with him.
In 2013, Vaughn Gittin Jr. and Fredric Aasbo would meet at Road Atlanta in the Grade 8. The battle would go down as one of the most talked about in FD history. A lightly moistened track caused unpredictable conditions, and as the two warriors came down the hill, the crash heard round the world was set into motion. What took place was something that not only cemented the legacy of both drivers, but started arguably one of the greatest rivalries in drifting.
Like I've said before, and many people have said before, Road Atlanta really brings out the top of what you have inside of you as a drifter for some strange reason. Maybe it's the fans, maybe it's the track, maybe it's all those things combined, right? As a fan, you know, what transpired last year between Vaughn Gittin Jr. and Aasbo was amazing. I mean, a guy literally drove over another guy. But, you know, it was also one of the most talked about things all year last year, and I think it definitely helped create the persona that people think is Vaughn Gittin Jr. in the public. You know, this crazy, balls to the wall, aggressive driver that's willing to drive over everybody. That's not the Vaughn I know, but he does have some of those attributes as a driver.
Last year, Fredric and I had a battle in some crazy track conditions. I ran his car over, we both kept going. It was one of the craziest things that happened in drifting ever. And, you know, we ended up winning, but it was a very controversial scenario.
The internet blew up. JR got a lot of, not hate, but a lot of stick for that. There's something really universal about cars crashing on course. And, you know, sitting next to JR on the line, I have to admit I was thinking about, you know, returning the favor.
Aasbo was eager to get back at Vaughn for running him over, but unfortunately for Fredric, an independent transmission malfunction closed the chapter in this story, but only for the time being. 2014 is a new year and presents new opportunities for action on the track. But before the lights go out and drivers suit up, they have a chance to relax with fans and enjoy the setting of another perfect day at a Formula Drift event in Georgia. Thousands of fans line up to get autographs, and one of the most sought-after signatures is that of Fredric Aasbo.
Yeah, well, we had some issues yesterday, actually. So we got like 5 wrecks. But other than that, car's good. I couldn't tell much of a difference with the new pavement, but where is the new pavement? From initiation and up the hill. There you go. Just sign that thing.
As the autograph session winds down and everyone makes their way to the track, it is clear that Road Atlanta has some of the most thoughtful and colorful fans in the world. And while it is all smiles right now out front, behind the scenes, the pressure of competition begins to mount. The top 16 introductions have concluded, and all drivers are on deck for a night of what will be insane and epic drifting. Up first, Fredric Aasbo meets the king of the backwards entry, Conrad Grunwald. Aasbo leads out front with the flair and style of a master, but Grunwald is not going to let him be so easily beat by the Norwegian hammer.
2 awesome runs. I led first, got to do a quick, solid qualifying run. Chasing Conrad, he was extremely wide, super high angle all the way through, but we got to stick with him and won.
With Aasbo getting the victory, he gets to sit back and watch the rest of the field battle it out. For Aasbo, he is eager to find out who he will face next. Back in the grid, Vaughn Gittin Jr. gets ready to battle. But it's no easy task as he will take on his Mustang teammate and rival in Justin Pollock.
Mother bitch. Ian, you got a copy?
Kevin just said it's going to be a minute.
Yeah, Kevin Wells just said it's going to be a while before we run because they got technical issues. They want to let it rain a little bit more first.
As both drivers wait eagerly at the start line, it appears to Vaughn that a slight drizzle has begun to come down.
You're on the line, you're ready to go. You have your perfect plan. And then your windshield gets wet. And knowing how slick the entry is, you start asking yourself all these questions. Oh, do I enter earlier? Do I slow down and enter later? What's the track going to be like? You know, you don't know.
You got this. Say it again, running with the 12. Running with the 12, a driver wiper up. Use what you got.
So I'm on the radio talking to Ian. I'm like, hey, my window's wet. And he's like, well, the track's dry. And I'm like, window's wet. And he's like, I'm calling dry. I'm like, fine. If it's dry, I'm letting you make the call. I toss it in 100 miles an hour. We blow off track, both me and Justin. I'm Dukes of Hazzard in through the infield. But like, I was so focused and so in the zone, like I didn't miss a beat. Like I lifted and drove the car through the dirt and jumped right back on the track like it was part of the track. It's just a crapshoot. And the fact that, you know, we made good, educated guesses for the most part and it worked out, felt great. But there's no doubt you have to have a little bit of luck when it rains in Atlanta. You know, it was kind of a grudge match that's been brewing, even though Justin and I are friends. When we lined up at that line, there was no doubt that we were going to both be going at each other's throats. And sure enough, you know, one more times later, that's what happened. You know, 110%, left it all on the track, bumping each other, just pushing as hard as possible. And, you know, once we got that victory, I knew how hard I fought, and I knew that there was no one else that was going to give us that tough of a battle. Not to mention, those extra one more times were essentially extra practice runs under the competition conditions. So I just felt like, you know, we were one up on everyone, and that just gave me the little bit more that I needed to get in my zone and be untouchable the rest of the event.
The rivalry that's developing between Vaughn Gittin Jr. and Justin Pollock, or that has been, really poked through there. I mean, 2-1 more times in a little bit of wet conditions, and then 2 times in dry conditions. So it was pretty incredible to watch, and I was not disappointed whatsoever.
Oh, we got the advantage right now. Wax that fucking ass. Yes! Yes! Over. Come on, let's go.
The pressure.
Next up, Fredric Aasbo has to battle series leader Chris Forsberg.
What's funny in Atlanta is that when the track cools down, it gets looser. It's almost like you get a little bit of moist on the track. So it's real easy to overshoot the track.
I got a little wide on my lead run with Aasbo, and I had right rear tire on the rumble strip, so it just didn't slow down quite as much as I wanted it to. We stayed on track. We didn't put tires in dirt or anything, but it was enough for him to squeak a car through. He had about like 5 or 6 lengths on us, and we closed that gap within that turn, and we were back pushing on the side of his car at the inner clip in the keyhole. So we closed a lot of ground, and we ran good tandem after that pass, but you know, no one was paying attention at that point.
The pass by Fredric Aasbo is something one rarely experiences in Formula Drift. But for the story of Fredric Aasbo at Road Atlanta, this incredible move not only added to his legacy as a driver, but also further showed why Road Atlanta is where history is made. For series leader Chris Forsberg, however, this event gave us a view into the mindset of a champion. Even though he made a mistake too big to overcome, Chris refuses to ever let off the throttle as he battles for another championship trophy. He will not let this moment define his 2014 season.
It was interesting that the whole tandem battle was determined off that one overshoot.
Fredric Aasbo gets the win. Woo! We heard Jared. Good job.
Me too, man.
We need some points.
this?
Dude, that was that was good. I can't be mad at you. It was hell. It was awesome. I knew I was going light. I was like, I was just like, I was like, it's fine.
That was racing, right?
No, I'm not mad at all, dude. You did what I would have done. Good work.
Good job.
It's a big win and a sigh of relief for Aasbo. But for him, the battle has only started, as now he must face none other than Vaughn Gittin Jr. in the finals.
Being able to pull it off this year and almost taking it to the top was high on the priority list. And we came in swinging, you know, we qualified well, went through the ladder, rain or shine, we were there. Taking Vaughn Gittin Jr. to one more time in the final was epic.
It was just awesome, and we went out there and drove as hard as we possibly could. We had ended up getting into one more time. We both made a mistake on the first run, and then during the one more time battle, we were pretty flawless and clearly won it. And I was just, you know, really happy to throw it down, and a lot for the fans. You know, they saw a crazy battle the year before, and we got to do it again. So it was pretty awesome.
In JR's own words, it was the perfect ending to the saga of him and me in Atlanta.
Perfect, mate. Let's see you do it. Of course, too, didn't he? Yeah, he did. It's a slam dunk, mate. This one's over. Nice job. Take my helmet off. Yeah, mate, you earned it.
In the end, Vaughn would take the win. But for fans of Formula Drift, the rivalry that started with the crash around the world, the story has only yet begun.